Hi, class. We're here talking about Shays' Rebellion today, is where we're going to pick up where we left off. So, with the Articles of Confederation, we listed all the weaknesses with it. The straw that broke the camel's back with the Articles of Confederation was Shays' Rebellion. This was a rebellion of farmers led by former Revolutionary War veteran Daniel Shays. Shays was an indebted farmer in Massachusetts, along with hundreds of other farmers that were losing their farms. The banks were foreclosing on their farms. So this was an opportunity to try and show strength in numbers by going down and burning down courthouses and hanging people and burning down banks. Not exactly a peaceful revolution to try and claim your territory back, your land back for these farmers. So Shays' Rebellion does get violent. The Articles of Confederation, the Continental Congress, request that the states send militias to Massachusetts to help put down this rebellion. Nobody agrees. This is the sign of massive fractures in the country. If Virginia's unwilling to help put down a rebellion in Massachusetts because they don't feel the unity with them, are we really a unified country? Do we really have a unified nation? So because of the lack of authority and the weaknesses showed in the Articles because of Shays' Rebellion, we have to do something. We have to change what we're doing, okay? So the Philadelphia Convention happens. This is actually a year after the Annapolis Convention, where we don't get enough states to really do anything. 12 of the 13 states show up in Philadelphia. The only state that doesn't show up is Rhode Island in Philadelphia. In 1787, the original goal was to amend the Articles of Confederation. Well, if you remember, to amend the Articles of Confederation, you have to have all 13 states. So they don't have 13, they only have 12. So they scrap this plan almost immediately as they're meeting at Independence Hall in Philadelphia. They say, we're not going to edit the Articles. We're not going to amend the Articles. We're going to come up with a whole new thing. We're going to come up with a whole new government. And they start with a blank slate. Now, if you remember talking about the Second Continental Congress, it was raucous. It was contentious. People were yelling over each other. People were banging things on the ground to try and drown out other members talking. So they set very strict rules at the Constitutional Convention that George Washington would be the president of the convention, and that everyone would take turns talking and things like that. The delegates that attend, like James Madison and Alexander Hamilton, agree to create a whole new system. And those two especially, my lights went out. Those two especially form an agreement that we need to find a new form of government. Hamilton proposes a wild form of government. Madison proposes the Virginia plan that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Hamilton proposes the Hamilton plan, which proposes an executive for life, that wealthy landowning people would make up the legislature. Essentially, he wants to make like an American monarchy. So he's very different than most of the other ones. So who are the framers? We often hear this talk about the founding fathers, the framers, and how they were almost demigods. They're so amazing. They're just the most incredible people ever, and we owe so much to them. And there's some truth to that. These men were definitely exceptional. They were very well educated. A lot of them were property owners. A lot of them had made great sums of money in the United States, but they definitely have their flaws and they definitely have their issues as well. So let's start off with some of them. George Washington is the president of the convention. He heads it. He is not the brainchild of the Constitution, though. He's not the most brilliant man. He's considered an amazing leader, great at delegating power and responsibility, but he was kind of quiet on his own. He demanded respect, which is why he was put in charge. Ben Franklin is the elder statesman of the convention. He's 81 years old when the convention comes around. He's been around for a long time. He's seen the states develop, and the Constitution is an opportunity for him to have the cherry on the top and his crowning jewel of his lifetime of achievement. You have people like James Madison and Alexander Hamilton, considered two of the brightest minds in the states. James Madison is considered the father of the Constitution because he writes so much of it, and he keeps immaculate notes of the Philadelphia Convention so that we know what happened there. He would go back to his hotel room every night, and he would just write for hours and hours and hours about what happened at the convention, because they weren't allowed to take notes while other people were talking. You had to listen and pay attention to them. So Madison's the reason why we know what happened at the Constitutional Convention. You have people like George Mason, Roger Sherman, who brokers the Great Compromise. You have wealthy people, you have poor people, you have politicians, you have soldiers, you have farmers, you have merchants. So when you hear, oh, our founders believed in this, that's a really inaccurate statement. We have a wide-ranging group of people here that all believe in different things. So to say all of our founders believed in the same thing isn't a very accurate statement. You have a wide range of ages. We already listed Ben Franklin at 81. You had a 26-year-old and Jonathan Dayton. I'm 30. What am I doing with my life if 26-year-olds are writing the Constitution? But the average age was 42. So that's significantly younger than our average age for a president. So it's incredible that such a young group of men wrote the Constitution. While there were very, very important people there, it's also important to note the names that were not there. Our second and third president were not at the Constitutional Convention. John Adams was our ambassador to Great Britain right after the Revolutionary War. Talk about an awkward job, right? Hi, King George. Nice to meet you. Yeah, we did just beat you in that war. How's your family? How do you have that conversation? That's where John Adams is at. And then you got Thomas Jefferson, who's our ambassador to France during the same time period. So Adams and Jefferson have nothing to do with the Constitution, the writing of the Constitution. Even though they're considered such essential founding fathers, they didn't write the Constitution. Samuel Adams isn't there, the Sons of Liberty helping fight in Boston. John Hancock isn't there. He's famous for his signature on the Declaration of Independence, writing it nice and big so that the king can see it. Thomas Paine isn't there, the man that wrote Common Sense that said we need to fight a revolution because it just makes sense. And Patrick Henry, give me liberty or give me death. That guy, his famous quote is, I smell a rat, when talking about the Constitutional Convention. He did not trust that this new form of government was going to be limited. He did not trust that the new form of government was going to be what's best for the people. So let's talk about the two plans that were proposed to form a legislature, the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan. The Virginia plan was a bicameral legislature where both houses would be determined based on population of the state. So you would have two houses in a legislature. You'd have an executive and you'd have a judiciary as well. The lower house would be elected by the people and the upper house would be chosen by the lower house. So essentially, Virginia and New York would dominate under the Virginia plan. Virginia and New York could have passed laws that the other 11 states were forced to follow because they had such huge populations compared to some of the other states. You know, a few 100,000 people lived in Virginia and 40,000 people lived in Rhode Island. So it really would not have been fair to give all that power to the states. If we would have passed the Virginia plan today, the states of California, Texas, Florida, and New York could bond together and force a law through that the other 46 states would have to follow. Most Americans would not like that type of system. Other fun fact here, James Madison got Edmund Randolph to present the Virginia plan. James Madison wrote the Virginia plan. He told Edmund Randolph, you're the leader from Virginia. You are the smartest man here. You need to give credit for the Virginia plan. So Edmund Randolph, being an arrogant person, was like, yeah, you're right. I am awesome. I should present this plan. Well, James Madison knew it was going to be very controversial, so he gave it to Randolph so he didn't have to do it. And everyone went and yell at him. So Randolph presents it, and everybody's ticked off and mad, and they don't like the plan. They call it stupid. And Randolph's ticked off. He's like, well, wait a second. It's not even my plan. So I have a quick graph here. You can look at what the Virginia plan looked like. It's kind of complicated there. Now let's quickly reference the New Jersey plan. So the small states were furious about the Virginia plan because it gave way too much power to the big states. So William Patterson of New Jersey developed an alternative plan. The alternative plan being that every state would have equal representation in the new government, very similar to the Articles of Confederation. Every state was entrusted with one vote, and that if we were going to get things done, you had to get a majority of the votes. It included a multiple executive chosen by the Congress, not the people. It had a national judiciary that was a tribunal appointed by the Congress. So the Congress would have a great deal of authority over the two other branches. But ultimately, we don't decide on either of these. Neither one truly is what's best representative of the people of the United States and the states of the United States. So we got to compromise.